Subject is youth peer counseling, and I'm joined by Tara Everitt and Danny McLaren from Resolve Counselling. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So Danny, youth peer counseling, tell me in a nutshell what that is.
Yeah, so youth peer support, what sits at the crux of it is connection and recovery and wellness through social connection and meaningful relationship building. So what we're looking at is we've been hiring and training young people with lived experience of things like, mental health challenges, homelessness, housing insecurity, addiction, substance use and misuse. And we are training them, kind of drawing on their lived experience and the skills that they already naturally have to support one another in the community. And we're kind of bolstering those skills through training and then matching them up with young people who are currently going through those same situations, so they can help them, build hope and move towards recovery together.
Tara, what is the catchment area? Age 16 to?
Yeah, so for youth peer support workers, the young people that are providing the support is 18 to 26, but young people receiving services who want to access a peer support worker would be 15 to 24.
Okay, kind of, yeah, got it. All right. So what is going on that they're homeless for the most part? Like, how does a person that age become homeless? What happens that this happens? Like, where are we falling down here?
Well, there's multiple reasons why a young person may become homeless. What we know is from research and evidence that there is a lot of young people that perhaps have touched the child welfare system. So they've lacked that, natural support and those natural connections, and a lot is based on trauma from when they were young. So there's multiple reasons why a young person may become homeless, and the goal of the peer support program is to intervene with young people to share similar experiences with other young people so that they can support them and guide them to that place of recovery. So the young people that are peer support workers often have experienced homelessness or mental health challenges, like Danny said, but they're on their road to wellness and recovery. So then they can give back and support others. So unlike a person who goes to school and a counselor or a youth worker who gets post-secondary education, and some of those people also may have lived experience. However, there's certain professional boundaries that expectations with people who are going to post-secondary education. Whereas a peer support worker can just be themselves. They can share their lived experience. They can share what they've done for that road to recovery. And so young people are very receptive to that, and they want to know what this person, how did you be successful, and how can I, work my way to that recovery and wellness.
I guess it'd be pretty hard to say you don't know what it's like when you're dealing with, because if you're dealing with someone older and someone who's formally trained in this, they don't know what it's like.
Yeah,
but
often they don't.
Right, but these kids do. I call them kids, but yeah, these kids do.
Yeah, these young people do.
So how do you choose the ones who are the peers, who are going to be like kind of like a big brother, big sister kind of relationship, it sounds like?
In that mentor position. So we've been speaking to folks, and what's really important to me is to meet them where they're at, right? So see how they're doing on their road to recovery, if they feel in a place where they're able to take on that responsibility, where sharing won't re-traumatize them, where talking about things that are difficult like addiction and homelessness and mental health won't be triggering for them or won't be so triggering that it impedes their wellness. What's really important when we're choosing peer support workers is having that open and honest conversation. Here are the expectations of the roles, here are the conversations you're going to get into. Does that feel manageable? Do you have supports to take on that work and stay well? So that's been a big one. We've had a lot of our peer support workers actually referred to us from workers who have been like, this was formerly my client, and they are doing so well in their recovery, and I'm so proud to see, all the strides that they've made, that I think that they would be a really great person to come in as a role model and give back to their community and meet them where they are, other folks that were formerly, in the position that they were in.
Does a person ever, you reach a point where you don't say in recovery, you say recovered?
Right, yeah. The reason I've been saying in recovery is just because, recovery is a lifelong process. Folks live
Okay.
with mental illnesses their whole lives. Things are non-linear, they move up and down. But yeah, I would say that these folks are recovered.
Okay, what does a recovered person who's still pretty darn young, what does that look like?
Yeah, so this would be someone who's sort of like emerging out of treatment for something like addiction, or they have reached stable housing, and they feel like they're in a place where they can sort of like start building those meaningful communities, right? Those meaningful connections with other people. What I think one of the like central aspects of recovery and wellness is kind of like reintegrating in their community in meaningful ways and having that meaningful social inclusion. That's really, really hard to have when you're, homeless or in the thick of addiction and mental health. So that's sort of like where these folks are at. And I really love this program because I think this is also, a way to continue building on those meaningful social relationships,
Right.
and do something meaningful, find meaning in your life after those challenging experiences, to give back to the folks who are sort of where you used to be.
So, go ahead.
Sorry, I just think another important point to note here is that our peer support workers are paid. So this work is very valuable, and it seems it is, so there's a lot of peer programs that want people to volunteer to do this work and to give back.
Right.
But the value is just as, they have just as much to offer as somebody who's gone to school and education in a different way, but we acknowledge that value, and therefore the peer support workers are trained, they're paid, and they're supported by Danny, who's the facilitator of the program. So they're checked in with weekly, and there's group supervisions. So it really gives them a lot of value in giving back to this work.
There's something about having money, getting paid
Yes,
for what you
exactly,
do. There,
exactly.
Rather than the pat on the back, and so on. It's all very nice. But yeah, especially someone who is homeless. I can see it. It's like a downward spiral, isn't it? You've got the addiction, and that's what leads to homelessness, and the homelessness leads to more addiction. And you can see the downward spiral, and in a sense, this is like a reverse spiral.
Yeah.
That deal with each of these problems, and then you've got someone who is functioning very nicely. So does this mean going back to school, getting a job? What's usually what happens?
Yeah, this could be, recovery is unique to the individual, and wellness, they chart their own journeys, but this could be getting them to a stable place where they feel like they want to re-enroll in school. This could be, getting a job. This could be, finding stable housing, and that, like, moving out of transitional housing into independence. It can look like a variety of things.
And then there's practical aspects of it. There's how to, I was going to say, this is really showing my age, but writing a check, but how to do an e-transfer, how to open a bank account, how to using a credit card responsibly, those kinds of things. Is that all part of it?
So that's not really the main focus of the work that we do to oversee the program. So we're really focused on the mental health aspect of it, and their road to recovery. But certainly we would support young people if they had challenges. Either, Resolve has lots of different programs, including a financial wellness program. So we would support them if there was challenges in those areas, for sure.
What I think is really interesting and exciting about peer support is it can be a sharing of skills between the peer supporter and the peer seeking services. Skills like, these are like those practical coping skills, those mental health skills. They have a lot of conversations about goal setting and talking together about sharing those coping skills that have worked for another person, being like, when I was in your situation, this is what worked for me, and that can be a really valuable skill sharing moment.
Absolutely. It can for any of us, let's face it, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the United Way offers you a lot of support. Like the salaries that you're paying to these peer support workers has got to come from somewhere.
Yes.
Tell me about that relationship.
Yeah, the United Way has, this program wouldn't exist without the United Way. They are funding 100% of the program. And so the relationship goes back. We started this journey with the United Way pre-pandemic. when the conversation around peer support came out of the youth homelessness initiative that United Way helped to lead. So this is a community collaborative. So there was many organizations around the table from the get-go with United Way talking about youth peer support. So, the pandemic kind of paused things a little bit. And then after the pandemic, we got traction to go ahead. So they have been instrumental in this program.
Good to know, and good reason to support the United Way.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.